London is booming, creativity is thriving, and the art world is at an all-time high. Just kidding, London is falling apart. And the only thing that the museums are creating are lists of artists working at McDonald's. What I'm about to show you are a couple of articles that show, according to the London Museum, the biggest problem of them all. So this is the first article that we will be reading, a couple of phrases from a very important article addressing the biggest problem in London museums, namely embedded whiteness. Now, in this article, they will talk about the problem as well as the solution. So let's first read about the problem. The goal is to prioritize the perspectives of historically marginalized groups and scrutinize speech, conduct, and institutional culture for signs of embedded whiteness. Embedded whiteness is a very big problem in museums right now. Now, further in the article, they talk about the problems that go beyond the London Museum itself. Let's read. At the University of Liverpool, new diversity guidance issued to history lecturers urged them to problematize both whiteness and heterosexuality in their teachings. Now, according to these extremely intellectually thriving, superb human beings, this is one of the biggest problems in the UK right now. Another article. Here we have the viewpoint of the employees, the staff members of this museum. Employees, the museum says, can challenge their rightness by asking themselves a series of questions written in a pamphlet that was distributed to the staff members. So the museum is solving this problem of whiteness with giving the staff members pamphlets because it is the staff members' fault. The staff members are the root of the problem. And what does this pamphlet look like? Well, this is a beautiful pamphlet, okay? Perhaps I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's go. Over here. Beautiful. This is one of the questions that you can ask yourself. Am I making space and time for important conversations about race? How are we continuing to challenge embedded whiteness in this museum? What are we doing about this, okay? Am I relying on colleagues who are people of color to lead, not just to work with me, but to lead on issues of racism? So I pushed my face a little bit more to the left so that we can read the rest together. Am I assuming that certain departments take precedence or priority? I mean, this whole thing is not about precedence or priority. This is not about prioritizing non-whiteness and making sure that the focus is in a certain way. No, absolutely not. It's all about neutral perspectives, encouraging neutral perspectives from all the staff members. According to the report, museum staff were informed that the culture at the museum and employees' ways of working support institutional forms of racism. Any questions actually relate to fairness and psychological safety. So, this is very important. It is the staff members' ways of working that support institutional forms of racism. And so we have to think about this. What do museums want? What do museums want? They want funding from the government. And how do they get funding from the government? They get funding by showing the government that people actually care about them, that the people go to their museums, that they need funding to serve the people in the country. And so what's the problem here? The problem is that these people of color are not going to the museum. The borders are wide open. The people come in, but they are not going to the museum. And the reason for them not going to the museum is the institutional forms of racism by these employees. It's not the artworks. It's not the artworks at all. No, the artworks are amazing. The selections that these museum curators are making are absolutely amazing. These are the best selections in the world. These are the best artworks from the best artists with the new people, the new citizens of the UK in mind. Let's take a look, for example, at one of these artworks. Karl André's equivalent number 8. This is a series of fire bricks. Stacked 120 fire bricks stacked. The people coming from these war zones, these refugees, well, they clearly come from places where bricks are really scarce. These bombarded houses over there, these people would obviously love an artwork like this. They would love a stacked pile of bricks. So it's not the artworks. It is clearly the staff that supports institutional forms of racism. That is why these people are not going to the museums. Now, if you go back to the first article, the argument here is absolutely amazing. So they understand the problem. The problem is racism. And the way they address racism is by erasing whiteness from the museums. This is an amazing argument. If you think about it, it's an amazing argument. Imagine me going to the National Museum of Kenya, and I want to address racism in that area. And I hand out pamphlets addressing the blackness in the museums. Imagine that. This would make no sense whatsoever. So what does all of this mean? What does it mean if you are an art collector, a gallerist, an artist, and you want to make it? You want to benefit from everything that we're seeing. We look at the art world, we see where it's moving, and we predict the future. And because we predict the future, we benefit from the future. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, let's say that you are an artist. Okay, you want to make art, or a collector, and you want to collect art. Which art do you collect? Which art do you make? Well, especially if you're 6'4", six-pack, six-figure, white male artist. The art that you make is feminist art. It's multicultural art. That's the art that will win. That is the art that you have to make. And if you potentially don't like that type of art, perhaps you're not a feminist, then you make that art anyway, and you don't show that you are not a feminist. You don't show it. You pretend to be a peon. You pretend to be an automaton, a complete and utter normie, bowing for the art gods. But deep inside you're a lion. Deep inside you are more than this. And you just sit it out. That's one of the options, okay? The second option is to understand that you are not allowed to create what you want anymore. You are not allowed to do what you want anymore. You are not allowed to be an artist that is creative and free in the modern art world. And the moment you realize this is the moment you understand that there's only one trajectory left, and that is the trajectory where you take everything in your own hands. You become the gallerist yourself, you become the museum yourself, you become the magazine yourself, and you build your social media brand out. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we will look back at the beginning of the 21st century and we will know with certainty that the only artists that might have said what they actually believed were the artists that built personal brands out on their own platform. We will know with certainty that all the other artists who didn't do that were potentially bought. And many of them will not be bought, but we will not know it with certainty. And because we will not know it with certainty, we will value the ones who had a chance slightly more. And so the best artists of the 21st century will be artists that build their own brand on social media. The best galleries will be galleries that build their own brand on social media so that they don't rely on the overlords telling them which artists to show, which artists to sell, which art to make. And if you don't know it yet, the best way to do this, to follow this trajectory, is to subscribe to my fucking newsletter. It's free. I explain you everything about the whole social media thing, everything about selling your art independently. Now, that said, there's another video that you can watch. It's called Art is Dying and I Need to Vent. It's perfectly in line with this one. That said, get the hell out of here.